Good morning. Hello. Got a dog sneaking in to say hello this morning.
Oh.
Not helpful, Teddy.
No.
Off.
Good boy.
Well done. There you go.
We'll let him go through and bug the little child. Or with her.
How are we doing this morning? So thank you for those of you who are joining us live this morning for our second live talks. So today we are going to be speaking about what it's like to live with someone who suffers from anxiety or depression, or generally just supporting your partner. Cheers. Supporting your partner with, through those periods, just kind of trying to explain and understand what it's like for each individual. And I think although you haven't experienced anxiety per se, you have experienced low mood and depression, and likewise I have experienced anxiety and depression, so it's quite interesting to see how we've kind of supported each other through those things. And you have an opportunity to ask us any questions about it as well. I think I had suffered from anxiety from age 15 upwards, and Stuart and I have been married for 12 years, together for 14 years, and he has obviously been with me through that period, through me having a breakdown in my early 30s. And supporting me through that and through various other periods of anxiety and depression. So I don't know, where do you want to start?
Well, I don't know. How do you describe anxiety? What is
so
anxiety exactly?
For me, I'm laughing here because it was almost like you set that up there. Like we had no chat before like doing these lives. We just decided we're just going to go off the cuff, but I actually took this book which is called Untamed. Good morning, everybody. I took this book with me because it's one of the first times I have read something that actually really explains like how anxiety feels and depression feels. So this is Glennon Doyle's version of how she describes anxiety and depression and how she felt. She'd also been an alcoholic, so she'd been kind of trying to dull her anxious and depressive moments through alcohol. But anyway, I'll just read you this bit. When I began recovery, I thought that my problem was I ate, I drank, and I drugged too much. I learned that overeating, drinking, and drugging were actually not my problems. They were ineffective solutions. My actual problems were clinical depression and anxiety. Being both depressed and anxious is a bit like being Eeyore and Tigger at the same time. It's like always living in a little too low and a little too high. It's always struggling to be at a level where life happens, where the here and now. Depression and anxiety are not feelings. Feelings return to myself. Depression and anxiety are body snatchers that suck me out of myself so that I appear to be there, but really I'm gone. It goes on just to speak about mental illness, and depression for her is just like this slow fade into nothingness and feeling grey, and then anxiety's feeling terrified about her control over anything, obsessing. So for me, like I had quite a lot of control issues when I had anxiety. I had mega almost like OCD with regards to cleaning and
Christmas tree preparation.
everything everything had to be controlled and in a certain way, because if I did that, if the house was organised, if that was organised, then I would be okay. The depression side of things, I think I really struggled with. I was diagnosed with depression after being at the hospital getting I feel like saying it was a brain scan. I'm maybe totally over exaggerating there. I kept having periods where I felt like I was going to black out and die. And yeah, I ended up at an appointment at the hospital where I was diagnosed with postnatal depression. Now, by this point, I think Lily was around a year and a half too. So to me, it didn't make sense because I thought, well, surely you get postnatal depression like when you have your baby. Like to me, and I was like always such an optimistic person, always a really, really positive person. So I didn't accept that diagnosis of postnatal depression very well because I was really joyous that I had a baby, because we'd obviously gone through a period of infertility, and then, you know, so to me I was really delighted to have a baby. So I didn't really understand that diagnosis of depression, but you know, the highs and lows, so depression, and I speak about this in all the courses and things I teach now, depression to me is like this living in the past, this longing for something that was what like once was. So like wishing my life was the way it was, wishing I was a certain way. And then the anxiety is this fear over the future, this trying to control everything in the future, to like I can't say the word, catastrophize the future, so that everything was like, you know, thinking the worst case scenario in situations, you know. And for me, living with anxiety at that time, I would go to bed and I would like sometimes feel like I'm going to die, like I'm going to fall asleep and I'm going to die, I'm going to have a heart attack in my sleep, and all these crazy wild things. And to start with, like, I don't think I really always conveyed how I was feeling to you, because I thought you would just think I was completely nuts. And then when I did, you were like, oh my gosh, this is like, how can you like cope with that, and how can you feel like that? And then I suppose prior to that like period of really bad anxiety and stuff, you know, I'd suffered with panic attacks and things, and I think that's really a difficult thing for someone who's never experienced one to try and know how to support someone with.
Yeah, definitely. That was a challenge, because you didn't, or I didn't know whether you did want or whether you didn't want any help or assistance, whatever that meant. And that was a difficult one. Until you kind of never having really had to live with that before. It was new for me. I'd dealt with a lot of people, you know, in work and in the career, both as candidates and clients, and staff that work with me. Until you know what that person wants, because it affects everybody differently. You know, it may affect somebody, you know, extremely hard, and another person that may be light. You know, it's temporary but in part, it's very seldom permanent, but it can affect you and hit you at any given time. And the panic attack issue is actually quite a scary thing to watch.
Morning, Claire.
When it's somebody that you love dearly and you know you revere, and somebody in your own view. Because what I think one of the things with anxieties and panic attacks is viewing that person's experience through how you're feeling. So if you're feeling great, you're feeling positive, you think, well, what's wrong? Why are you feeling like that? Why is that happening? So it's, you know, being really careful not to just brush it off and treat it lightly, because it's really quite debilitating to that individual. So learning how to ask, do you want me to be in the room when you've got the breathing issues, or if you're having to breathe into a bag to regulate your breathing, to kind of calm yourself down, etc., or do you want me to, you know, bugger off, leave or whatever. So that was quite an important learning thing for me, in being able to support something that was clearly you know, affecting Susie's life in a manner that I didn't really fully comprehend at that stage. What I did, one of the things I learned quite quickly was, because I was and I always have been a solution finder, especially at work. You know, people look for careers, to help them with their careers, their new jobs, clients finding new candidates to resolve an issue in the company and stuff like that. Offering a solution or offering to sort it isn't really what she was asking for.
No.
But in my kind of nature and the way I was looking, I wanted to do that because that's what I do.
Yeah.
But that wasn't actually really what was required. It was just being there. It was have some form of empathy. It was to just really truly develop the ability to listen and hear what they're saying, because sometimes, people with anxiety feel foolish enough as it is. They feel that that it's something that's a real illness, and anything that debilitates somebody, it is a form of illness of sorts. So that to listen, sometimes they just want to kind of get it out and just say it, and that in itself kind of will regulate how they're feeling.
Yeah, and I think often when you suffer from anxiety or even depression, like, I know when to start with that, like, people would say why, and I'm like, I have no idea. Like, it's like a lot of the time I had no idea why I was having a panic attack, or it wasn't like there was certain things that triggered it. So for me, you felt stupid. Like, if somebody's asking you, well, what's wrong? Like, why are you like hyperventilating and hiding in a toilet? It's really difficult to try and explain. So I think that's really important. And I often get asked when I do talks or when I'm like speaking about my book to people, I get asked by family members, well, what can I do to support my child or partner or friend or whatever? There's nothing you can really action. Like, you can't take them to a certain place or suggest they do a certain thing. The real thing is just to support from a place of non-judgment, because the person feels bad enough as it is without you trying to fix it. And this is something, like you mentioned, you're a fixer. I'm a fixer. I like to help people and make people feel better. And I was mentioning, like, obviously I suffered from postnatal depression, and then Stuart had suffered his own period of depression as well. But I found that hard when you suffered from depression, because I help people overcome all these things, and I just want to help you, and but ultimately you didn't need me to tell you what to do.
No.
What did you need?
Well, just what I was saying earlier, really. I think that sometimes you can go back earlier what Susie said about the OCD and the things, looking right and being in the right place and all that kind of stuff. They're all external factors. So you try and control the external factor, your internal, the anxiety, which is a mental issue, still doesn't actually really get dealt with. It's a short term, if I fix that, I'll feel good. Oh no, it hasn't worked. I'll go and fix that. Oh no, it hasn't worked. It's a mental thing. So it's really having awareness, I think, that there's something, kind of happening. I mean, what I've discovered and through Susie's work and so forth is that, anxious people feel very, many different types of things. They feel alone, they feel threatened, insignificant, scared, all those kind of factors that, when you're feeling like that, they are internalized, so your perception and view of what's going on outside is a bit blurred.
Absolutely.
In a way.
And the perception and view of what's going on in your head is 100% blurred, because a lot of the time it's not true. The stories that we're telling ourselves are not true, that we're useless, that we're insignificant,
Absolutely.
that we're whatever we're feeling.
And I was informed early in my management career by a guy called Zig Ziglar that perception is reality. Whether it's right or whether it's wrong, your perception of how you feel is true to you. Whether it is or whether it isn't, you believe it, and that's quite a difficult thing to kind of not help but acknowledge almost, if you don't know what that person's actually perceiving about themselves. If they just keep it all up here and don't share it out. So offering a safe platform and a safe area for somebody to truly share what they're feeling, you know, what their views are, and even being there and genuinely asking them, you know what it is that they may need to help. Sometimes they don't have an answer themselves.
Yeah, I think that's really, I was just thinking that, like, you know, because, like, okay, so it's okay thinking, oh, well, I can't really do anything for them, but I suppose you can, like, check in and say, and ask that question, like, I, like, really care about you, and, you know, I want the best for you. What can I do to support you? Like, and I know sometimes for me that would just be, oh, well, just hug me, or just sit outside the bedroom door, or, like, make sure that I eat properly, or, you know, make sure that I go to bed at a decent time. Can you please help me? And I know I might get mad at you when you ask me, but, like, please remind me to do these things for myself, or make sure I take time for myself, or help me with the kids, or, you know. And
sometimes in relationships you have blurred lines of responsibility, blurred because we don't always talk about them. Blurred because we don't say, right, you're responsible for this, you're responsible for that, like in work, for example. So taking over almost, you know, doing all the nappy changes, doing the feeding, you know, doing the walking, just do those things, allowing the person that little bit of freedom to kind of breathe and, you know, not have to feel this responsibility, which can be huge in their mind, and it's big anyway having a child, but it's huge anyway. You know, just doing those types of things can really help and alleviate at that time.
Yeah, and I think it is really worrying. Like, I know when Stuart had depression, it's like, it's so worrying because you really want that person to be happy, but you have no control. Like, you as a supporter have no control over another person's emotions and how another person feels. Like that, what was that Zig Ziglar quote you just said? Perception is reality.
Perception is reality.
Yeah, so it's not kind of the same thing, but, like, you know, just recognizing that actually all you can do is be there. Like, you have zero control over how that other person responds or what actions they choose to take. I don't know, does anybody have any questions so far on any of the things that we were discussing, or on our experiences of anxiety, depression, or living with someone? Or let us know in the comments if we're answering questions that you wanted to know.
What's really interesting is, you know, and I suppose this is the age-old question, maybe it always is, where does anxiety actually come from? You know, how does it present itself? And you know, what is anxiety saying to you? Not to get too deep on the matter, but, you know, it's like everything else. If you can find the source of something, you could maybe try, and if you sort this issue, that issue becomes resolved.
Yeah, can I interject there?
Of course you can.
So the source of anxiety and the source of depression is never one thing. Okay. So that's obviously my speciality area. It is never one thing. It is 100% a whole host of different imbalances within a person's lifestyle. It's never one traumatic event. One traumatic event may have triggered that, but in order for the anxiety and the depression or whatever to remain, then there will be other lifestyle factors that have affected that. So there's never ever one thing that causes it. There's a whole host. So you could fix, like, so you may think, oh well, it's where I stay, my neighbours really stress me out, I'm so anxious all the time because of my neighbours. If I move house, that anxiety will go.
Okay.
Yeah. It may reduce, but I guarantee it won't just be the neighbours. There will have been other things that have led to that. So, So yeah, lots of different things. So yeah. So any questions at all? Any ideas for what you would like us to speak about next week, maybe? So I think the key thing from today is, like, just support.
Mm-hmm.
Be there. Don't problem solve.
And if your partner is either behaving or reacting differently from what you know, we can be quite quick as human beings to jump to conclusions rather than genuinely asking. That's quite unusual behaviour. I mean, is everything all right? Because it's if somebody just keeps a lid on that kind of issue, depression is the same. If you keep a lid on it, it just builds and builds and builds and builds, as we know. And it can, as you say, explode over absolutely nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the build-up of stuff that's got us to that point that the explosion has come over the fact that you put the handle of the cup on the left-hand side, not on the right-hand side. When I was actually ready to pick up a cup of coffee.
Yeah, so I think that is exactly it as well. I think with especially for guys, I don't know, you can tell me if I'm wrong, I think it's more difficult for you to have people to speak to and to feel like you should have it all together because you're a guy and you're supposed to...
Absolutely.
So for you to admit that you have suffered from depression or have been in a state of low mood is really... And I think you never admitted it till after you were through it.
Yes, that's right. Yep. Because of my perception of what I was or who I was. I help people. I didn't need help. That was certainly the view or my perception that I had of myself. I can do it. I help everybody else. I'm there for everybody. But at the end of the day, when you boil it all down and you take all your clothes off, we're all a human being. We all have needs. We deal with things differently, of course. But it's how we acknowledge it. It's difficult to accept. For me, my I thought if I go work out in my head, I'll sort it. But when you're working in your head, you're not verbalizing anything. So I'd be moody, I'd come home a little bit later, I'd snap over nothing, and so forth. And until you kind of acknowledge and recognise, you can then try and have a look at what you can do about it, which is what we did. I mean, I was embarrassed. I felt, letting people down. I felt weak, and I felt that, maybe perhaps that, people might be better off if I'm not here or if I'm not around, which is a ludicrous kind of thing to be thinking, but that was my real view of it all. And the thing that I wanted to make sure was, safety and security to me were really key with a kind of an upbringing that I had of bits of insecurity and all that kind of stuff. I'd looked for security in things, and that got ripped from me at some point in a career, to the point now that I realise, as they say in sporting terminology, that class is permanent and form is temporary.
What does that mean?
It means that anxiety shouldn't define you as a person. It's an event, it's a circumstance, it's a situation that's happening to you during your journey in your life. It doesn't say that it defines you and it's the end of.
No, absolutely.
So therefore, that's you are permanent. Your class, your person are permanent. The issues that come up in life, redundancy, marriage breakdown, moving houses, anxiety, they're temporary. And it's how we can look at them in that sort of manner. And I've realised that now I've actually flipped the coin totally, that you know, uncertainty for me gets me going now, which excites me. You know, if things are too certain as they were before, and security and all that, and so forth, I didn't recognise it. It's like everything else. It takes time to learn new things and to adapt them into your life, and for them to actually be part of your life.
Cool. Nicola saying, well done, Stuart, for the honesty.
You're welcome.
Okay, does anybody have any questions before we, oh hang on, let's just see, it just takes a wee minute for things to come up. Angela's saying her husband has suffered from anxiety for years, and I think at times he's suffered from depression, but we didn't go and see someone for that or talk about. He's been to see many therapists, counsellors, and Angela, she does therapy herself, but it's always a short-term fix. I can see it coming every time, withdrawing from family, quiet, moody, snappy. Anything I say doesn't seem to help in the situation, normally about his job, security and finances. Always thinking about providing and what he should do as a man. Do you want to?
Are you talking about me?
I know. Yeah. Do you
know,
wanna?
that sounds like a familiar description of exactly what we're kind of having a conversation about. You know, it's the sadness, it's the disappointment, the letting down, it's the not being able to provide. It's a primal kind of emotion, a feeling, and you'll probably notice as well. Most therapists I've known or I've been aware of have been female, and I think, you know, I'll just say it in this kind of manner, but a man-to-man talk, if you like, or a male-to-male conversation, to really get in to allow somebody to reveal how they're feeling. And as we have discovered in our experiences, is that our children will listen to a stranger before they will listen to their loved ones. You've been talking to them, you've been advising them this for months, and then somebody tells them something and they come and tell you what you've been telling them for months. So they, in that kind of respect. So I think sometimes if you can get with the right connector and connection.
Yeah, I think there is more and more support becoming available for male, and you've noticed this probably through your coaching as well, that like men may come to you for business coaching or for support in and around that. And is it where
it's
does
not,
that?
It leads to that is the vehicle of their getting to me, but really once we start opening up, it's all this stuff here that we're talking about. You know, these issues of you know, being able to provide, you know, trying to be happy, whatever that may mean for everybody.
I think that's the thing, it's different for everyone, isn't it? Like, that happiness is so different for everyone, and that's why I think like coaching is great, because you're working out what your values are as an individual, not like the collective, oh let's have a nice house and a nice car, that's going to make me happy. You've discovered that didn't make you happy.
Absolutely.
Like we do have a nice house, but it's different from the perceived nice house that we had and all that, isn't it? You know, it's as you said, it's like internal, it's not the external. And I think a lot of focus for men is on the external. Like, I don't know, is that true or not true?
Probably. I mean, men and women are different, as we know. Venus and Mars and all that. And that it's absolutely right. And you know, it's incredible how men and women can actually live together in any kind of sense. But I think for us anyway, and for me, truth and honesty, you know, they're not things to keep to yourself. If you are trying to be something you're not, you will not be happy. Even though what you've communicated to your partner, they're doing what is probably right for that person you think you want to be, you're not recognising it because you're not really wanting to be that person. So truth and honesty, will, as there was a movie we watched the other day, is that truth and honesty, it really will set you free. It releases you. Because
living a lie
to yourself that can impact the life along the lines as Angela's saying there and we're talking about. People can't get to the root of it, or one of the roots, to try and have a conversation about it.
So Angela's saying she's relieved that it's not just her, that she's a fixer too, and she wants to be there to support, where she can sit back and let him take the reins more, she's saying.
Yeah. Well, see, one of the things, going back to early days of our relationship, you want to, in providing for people is a control element, and you want to kind of control, but we're not capable of everything.
No, so I think
we're not capable of everything, and I think just releasing it and letting somebody else do what you do, and that, can I just say one other thing? Not to go too much, but it's similar in that I learned again at Christmas time, where I was terrible at receiving things, really terrible, because I didn't think I needed anything, I didn't really want anything, and but I wanted to give, and I gave the kids everything. I gave Susie, I gave parents, I looked after this, that and the other, but what I got taught was you're denying other people the joy of giving if you can't understand the power of receiving. So if you poo-poo or, oh, that's okay, I don't really need anything, you're denying that person the joy that you have. You get
so
the
what,
joy
if you
from
are
giving.
depressed or suffering from anxiety and you're pushing people away, is that what you mean?
Yeah. Let somebody
support you.
You're not alone. It will be difficult. It is scary. But because safety is one of the primal things that human beings want to make sure that they feel is safe, so they can do the other things. And being around somebody or people that you can actually be safe with, you will be able to reveal a lot more of what you're truly feeling, not what you're saying you're feeling, but really coming from your heart.
And I think you feel safe when you are around people that you can be yourself with.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's back to that truth and honesty.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So I hope that's benefited you today. Like, feel free to drop us a message or, reach out to us if there's anything that, that you want to chat through, or you want us to point you in the direction of any kind of support or things like that. We're totally here for you. But yeah, let us know anything that you want us to discuss next week.
Yep.
Things that are maybe on your mind, areas, you can drop us a message or you can pop it in the comments. Angela's saying thanks for the joint videos. Good. I'm glad that you're finding it of benefit. I think it's good to see both sides or hear both sides. And not just for relationships, but like husband, wife, or boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, but just as another person's viewpoint. Like, it doesn't have to be male, female. It's just everyone's different, so it's quite good to hear different viewpoints on things, and different experiences. So thank you so much for joining us. As I say, please let us know if you've got any questions. And Erin's saying her and Lewis are watching them together. So that's really cool. And
Denise earlier said, Susie, you're looking great, and I agree with that.
Aw, thanks. Thanks, Denise. Need a haircut, and obviously I can't get to see you. So appreciate that. So I hope that you're all doing well. For those of you who are in Aberdeen, you know, I hope you're all staying safe. Nicola's saying that she's had depression for 14 years and it's great how open others are now about opening up to it. Absolutely. And I think the more this conversation is discussed, the more that these things can be dealt with, you know, and openly deceived, that you don't have to be embarrassed or, you know.
Another thing as well is that maybe it's something that actually won't go away. But it's how you can actually, like everything else, you know, you manage your household, you manage your finances, you manage your job, you manage your kids. And this is nothing different necessarily. If you have these issues or challenges, there's something just to manage.
Differ.
Do
Do not agree.
All right, okay.
At all.
There you go then.
These are not
the
situations just to be managed. You do not have to live your life every day feeling those emotions. Okay. Absolutely not. If you're not enjoying your job, it's not just there to be managed. Okay. If you're not just, it's not just, it needs to be approached. So, oh, sorry Insta, don't know if you're still there. So absolutely not. People should not just be managing life, they should be enjoying life. Like, life is an absolute gift. It's not just there to be endured.
There you go, that's people right. We thought we'd get that one in anyway.
So, do you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
or
totally.
what do you think?
No, I totally agree. I agree with that. It is a gift. We've been honoured to have it. And it is something to be loved as much as you can.
Yeah. You're getting laughing faces now. So yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, go have an incredible day. It's our day off. Together. Like
Lots
Kylie and Jason.
Lots to do.
Or yesterday I was speaking to someone, we're getting compared to Ant and Dec. So yeah, I'm not sure which I prefer, Kylie and Jason or Ant and Dec.
Well, it's a bit scary really, is it?
Richard and Judy?
Male and female, 2 males.
Okay, cool. Well, haven't what was that?
Great stuff, no.
Okay, so any subjects you want us to discuss, please drop us a message. It would be great to hear from you. And we'll chat those through. But have an incredible Tuesday. For those of you who have signed up to my 3 days to Cam, I look forward to connecting with you tomorrow. There's still time to sign up today, so go do that now, or message me if you don't know how to do that. Alrighty.
Great stuff. Thank you very much.
Love to you all.
See you guys later.